So this series is going to be about creating an inventory system. One of the challenges to creating a video series about just an inventory system is depending on what kind of game you're making, items are attained in a different way. So I'm going to have to use one means in this game. I'm going to make objects be clickable, but you might have to adjust that for your game. But the idea is about how you transfer information from an event, such as the end of a battle, or the clicking on an object, to having appear in your inventory, then how you use that inventory item. So of course I'm also going to have to make a few presumptions there. I'll create some basic stats, and you'll see how using the item increases or modifies those stats, and then it's about integrating those stats into your own game. So you see a few items at the bottom here. I haven't actually done anything. I just dragged and dropped them. Presuming you guys know how to do that, so didn't want to waste your time with that. So let's first start by bringing in our inventory item, or I should say our inventory window. And ordinate layer is going to be important. This should be beneath everything else because you want your inventory items to appear on top of it. So ordinate layer will be 0 for that. Now let's bring in our gem item. Let's bring in our potion item. Those will be set to 1. And we'll bring in a weapon as well. That will also be set to 1. Now what we're going to do is first we're going to make a couple variations of this. I have another video about palette swapping, so I'm not going to go into a big explanation, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple versions of each one of these. With this part, the potion items, we will name them as to, rather than a color, we'll name them as to what they do. So we'll make an HP potion, MP potion, maybe a defense potion, we'll just call this Scythe. Okay, that gets us started with our items. Just move these all off to the side. Line them up. So in order to see how items appear into your inventory, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up them on the side of the screen so they will be clickable, and then you will also see them appear and build up in your inventory as well. So normally, unless you're in a store, you really wouldn't have this set up. So I suppose this actually works as a dual purpose, because in a store, like we just said, you would have this where it's like, okay, I'm buying things from a vendor. So I guess that would be the best comparison, is think of this as the vendor setup, but still the basic principles work. It's important to note that what you see versus what Unity sees are often two entirely different things. For instance, the inventory window, you see 16 separate slots. However, that's a visual pattern that you can recognize. whereas what Unity sees is a single object. It doesn't see those individual slots. So the first thing we're going to do is actually create inventory slots. And since we want the objects to be clickable, what we're going to do is we're going to create an empty, and we'll call it slot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to number them slot 1, 2, 3, 4. You could do, if you want, like some kind of grid A1, B1, C1, whatever. It's really arbitrary. Now the size is going to need to be size roughly of the slot, that is the image from the inventory object. So let's go ahead, add a component, physics 2D box collider, and by default it's just about the right size. So let's shove that over a little bit. Actually, that's almost perfect. So let's trim that just ever so slightly. Bring the top down a little bit, bring the bottom up a little bit. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to attach a script to this object. And what we're going to do is the object is going to change what image it displays, what sprite it displays, based on what inventory item has been picked up and put into that slot. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we'll do add component, new script. Let's call this inventory control. And so what happens is once this is done, then we'll just copy this and put 1 in each location. So for inventory control, what we need to do is we need to create variables for each image that this slot can take on. So public sprite actually, let's just do gem. Save that. Over here, you can see now it allows for those to be put there. So what we're going to do is when you're doing a sprite, it needs to be an asset and not an object. So we'll put the gem in the gem slot, potion in the potion slot, weapon in the weapon slot. Now, we're not going to copy that yet. What we're going to do is we now need to make these objects clickable. Let's do a box collider. And I'm not worried about precision clickability because, as we said, in your game the objects might not even be clickable. It might just be something that you automatically receive at the end of the battle. So you would eliminate the clickable functionality and instead have the object the object here automatically be updated to whatever the dropped object is. So now we need to create a static variable that tracks if an object has been clicked on, and a static variable to track which object has been clicked on. It's basically meant to prevent like a rapid fire. Like if you click on the object once, you don't want to have it act like you clicked on it 20 times. So what we'll do is we'll go into inventory control and create those. So that's just going to be a yes or no. It's kind of a long variable name, but again, it really doesn't impact performance. And since there's autocomplete, you really don't have to worry about typing the name wrong once you've typed it out the first time. We'll save that. Now we check to see which item has actually been clicked and transfer those values into the variables we just created. So we need to create a single script. We'll call this item control. And again, naming's really arbitrary. Let's grab our items, drop that onto them, and so now they should all have it. So whenever I make a change to that script, it will immediately impact all of them. And let's go into that script. And we need to put in a routine that checks for clicking. And this is the part that you might not have in your code, because if the items you find are just automatically received, you won't have to do this, you just have to adjust accordingly. And this is a standard routine. You can't change this naming and have it work. And what we'll do is, since it's a static variable we're looking for, we have to use the name of the script and the name of the variable. And this basically says, I want this variable to be equal to the name of the object that this script is attached to, that's being clicked on. The script is attached to multiple items, but only one of them is being clicked on. Should work. Now just to make sure that it does, what we'll do is we'll put in a debug statement here. It did green gem, blue gem, red gem.